What's going on, everybody? You're listening to the I Test Football Podcast, the football podcast by fans, for fans. I'm Stan Olsen, sitting next to Cody Potter, and today we're going to do a little something fun. We're going to do a little exercise. This is kind of, I think, my idea, but it was kind of hard to come up with just basically figuring out the numbers. We basically used the 2021 NFL draft class to put together a 22-man roster. And we had to have caveats. So we made rules.
Yeah, you gotta have rules. Can't just pick the top 22 players.
Right.
It's not fair. We'll get into our explanations of players and maybe like ideas of who we were thinking about with that pick.
Yeah.
Did you go round by round? I kind of went round by round, but you sounded like you kind of went by position.
I went by position.
Okay, you went by position. So,
basically, what I have written down here is that I did 6 first-round players, 11 players in the second, third, and fourth round, and 5 players rounds 5, 6, and 7, and undrafted. And the caveat is you only can use one top 10 player in the class. You can't use more than one. I think using that model is just probably the best way.
I think it made it fair.
Yeah.
I think we're going to have I think we're going to definitely start off with the same player for the same reason of the team building idea that we're putting behind this forum. Like basically the idea is to put together the best 22 people that you could through 7 rounds with limited picks in each rounds. Realistically, if you're using a team building or you're thinking about value when it comes to that. So I mean, if you got to think if I'm taking this player in the top 10, it's because there's not an equal value anywhere else in that draft, and that's why you're using that pick there. So it might not be our favorite player, it might be our favorite player. Honestly, I'm pretty sure it is. At least in my case, it was. But then you get down to the outside of the top 10, and that's where you start to make your other 5 first-round picks, and it's like, okay, what position am I going to take outside of that? Like, clearly, if you're taking a top 10, you're one top 10 player, man, you clearly feel that player is head and shoulders probably the best player in the draft.
Yeah, and how do you want to do it? Do you want to go by round or do you want to go by position? Because I think probably going by position might make it a little bit easier just to kind of bring the whole team together than if we go by round, then it's
I can do it
more like a draft board.
We can do it by position.
And then at the end, we can probably go through and just rattle off our rounds and,
Now that I'm looking at your thing,
I know.
I'm telling you, I think our rosters are very similar now.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so you got quarterback. Who's your quarterback?
I took Justin Fields.
I took Justin Fields too.
Really? I could have swore you were going to go Kellen Mond.
No. So here's my thing. I love Kellen Mond, but first round quarterbacks tend to pan out more. I think Justin Fields is a star. He showed me everything he needed to show me at the end of the season. Yeah. If I was the Bears, I would have traded up. If I was the Vikings, I would have traded up. If I was Washington, I wouldn't have been against not trading up for Justin Fields. I mean, I would have been very happy trading up for Justin Fields. I think he was the best. To me, Justin Fields was my quarterback because he was the best value. Again, you could only take one player in the top 10. Justin Fields was pick 11, so to me, that was the value. I mean, we all know that I love Kellen Mond. If anybody listens to the pod, they know I love Kellen Mond. But
Kellen Mond was my original guy there. I mean, when I came up with the idea, the whole idea of this list was, I can just use Kellen Mond as a 3rd-round pick and then, fill out superstars all around. And then I put Kellen Mond there, and I was just like, you know what? I saved the quarterback for last when I filled out my sheet, and that's just, I ended up using first-rounders last. I went and worked my way back. I looked in rounds 5, 6, and 7 and filled out those, found my favorite players in those rounds, put them in there, and I was like, okay, I got those guys, and now I can just go back and scoop from the cream from the top.
See, what's funny is I kind of did the opposite. I actually started from the first round and worked my way down because you know how I am about once it's after the 4th round, you know me. I'm so scheme specific or like just some sort of skill set specific towards a certain type of scheme that I prefer. That realistically the names get easier for me as the draft winds down.
Yeah.
So I mean, you got Justin
went Fields too.
I went Justin Fields. I thought that was the best value at pick 11. Okay. It allowed me to get a quarterback that was worth taking in the top 10 outside of the top 10.
Right.
And it allowed me to get the best player that I felt was in the top 10 on my roster.
Did you at all ever consider Mac Jones? I did.
I did not at all. Actually, this list, like I said, this list was pretty easy for me. It was actually pretty clear cut because I just knew the players. I just knew the players that I wanted. This board just actually fell for me. Like I said, it wasn't all my favorite players. It wasn't players that we probably talked about on this show, even for me, for my team. But it was players that I really liked, just because I didn't want them for my team. It's probably just the value of the pick. Like there's a few D tackles in this class that I actually like. The Washington football team doesn't need D tackles, so it wasn't like I was really in love. It's not like
me and quarterback,
right? It's just like you just don't talk about them as much when your team needs them. But no, But I will say D tackle did cause me to go one extra player than I think maybe would have split it fairly from rounds 2 to 4. Yeah. I got 3. I got 3 in the round 3rd and 3 in the 4th round, and then I got 5 in the 2nd round, just because the value to me for D tackle was that important. It was 2nd rounders.
Okay. Well, I like the way that you broke yours down. I don't even think I picked any 7th round guys. I'm kind of a little upset that I didn't. But for running back, I went Javonte Williams. Who'd you go with?
I went Khalil Herbert.
Interesting. I thought about Herbert, and
that was a round 6 selection.
Wow, that's my guy. I didn't even think you were high on him.
No, it wasn't. Again, team building, positional value. I had Najee Harris in my original, but when I was looking at my team, because Najee Harris would have been a 1st round player. Again, I was very. You know how I am about football. So just to explain it a little bit is, that I love offensive linemen. I think offensive linemen make the team. And then you definitely need your guys up front on defense, but you gotta have standing linebackers, man. And this class, man, my linebackers just ate up my top picks, and so did offensive line.
Yeah. I didn't put one 1st round offensive lineman on my thing though.
That's great. I got actually I think you're going to be very surprised.
And I didn't put any players that sat out last year. I don't think.
I definitely got players that sat. Well, maybe, yeah, I definitely got players that sat.
I would have loved to put guys that
sat. Actually, I probably got a lot of players that sat.
Wow, I'm surprised. I kind of thought it would be the other way around.
Dude, honestly, it killed me to put them on the team, but to build the most talented roster, man, they had some of the best tape, and honestly, I thought they were the premier player at the position to where what I'm looking for, and I'll get to that once we get to edge.
Yeah, we'll get to defense in a minute. So you went Khalil Herbert, and I went Javonte Williams. I went Javonte Williams because honestly, I don't know if he's the best running back in the class, but I think that the way that I built my team with my offensive line and my zone running, I think that he is just going to... I have a lot of run blockers on my offensive line. And
you got Justin Fields as your quarterback, and you got Javonte Williams going to wear down defense. You got a power-based offense. A zone blocking scheme, but you're talking about a power offense where you're run heavy with your quarterback, you're run heavy with your running back. You're going to be pulling Justin Fields out on screens and sweeps and things like that, and play actions, RPOs.
Yeah, and I'm looking at my offensive line, and I can't believe that I literally just thought of a player that I didn't put on there. I'm surprised. But did you put 3 wide receivers on your offense?
I'll
read my 3.
I took 3. Read your 3 because I got 3.
I have Terrence Marshall, 2nd round pick, Seth Williams, 6th round pick, and my slot guy is Amari Rodgers, 3rd round. And I think that's probably very good for what Justin Fields wants in his offense.
So,
for me, what I think is that you would have Amari Rodgers working in the slot. And honestly, I just think that he is a very reliable slot wide receiver. I had a hard time picking who I wanted to be a slot wide receiver, but when I think of who is the premier slot wide receiver in this class for me, I think it's probably Amari Rodgers in the 3rd round. It's great value. Terrence Marshall's a player that I thought would have gone in the 1st round, and the fact that he went in the 2nd round made him very easily it was very easy for me to make him my premier wide receiver. I think he's going to do very well stretching the field. He moves quickly. And Seth Williams is kind of that 3rd wide receiver who can play on the outside, very good, reliable hands, isn't going to light the world on fire. But this reminds me of what the St. Louis or what the LA Rams have a wide receiver. That's what kind of reminds me of. And that's kind of what I'm going with. Who did you have for wide receivers?
So the first one that I took was Elijah Moore. That was my slot.
That's a good one.
2nd round pick, and then I took Naomi Brown to be my number 1, and then I took Gaz Newsome in the 6th.
I thought about Daz too. It was between Daz and Seth Williams, but I like your guys. You went.
I went value. I wanted difference, man. Like I wanted difference makers. I felt like De'Ami Brown is the difference maker, but then you have Elijah Moore playing in the slot with his speed, his quickness, the fact that he is versatile enough to do end arounds. So is De'Ami Brown. Daz Newsom's the go up and get it guy, and I think when we get to this next position, you'll understand why I went with value wide receivers. Because honestly, I mean, you know how I am about first round wide receivers anyway. Terrace Marshall very much could have been on my team, but I value these other second round players so much more than just a wide receiver. And I know I did pick Elijah Moore, and I know that is a slot, but the way that this game is played with my premier player that I did pick, Elijah Moore and that player with De'Ami Brown outside is my number one. I felt like, what an electric offense.
Yeah. I
mean, speed for days. Khalil Herbert's a versatile weapon. He can play. He can run behind the zone. He can run behind power. They do both in Virginia Tech.
Yep.
Again, I mean, once you hear my offensive line, I mean, you're going to be like, oh, okay. I mean, anybody's going to be able to like.
Right. I know. But let's just. We both have the same tight end, and we both used our top 10 picks on Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, I mean, Kyle Pitts was the premier player in the draft.
He's the best player in the class, and I want him on the team.
Yeah, I mean, you're not getting anywhere close to that value with any other pick at tight end in any other round. So it was like, that was the starting place for me. That's why I started high, and it was just easy to work my way down after that. Yeah. Because, I mean, dude, I mean, who's even close to? I mean, he's a generational talent at tight end. So it's like, you're not just talking about, okay, this is a great class, and he's a generational player. No, it's a generational player with not a great class. So, I mean, what were you going to pick him? Tommy Tremble.
I thought about Tommy Tremble, to be honest. I mean, he's probably going to be my tight end. Honestly, Brevin Jordan, I thought about just picking as my slot wide receiver. Or I thought about putting Kyle Pitts as my slot wide receiver and having Brevin be my tight end, because Brevin went round 5. I thought that would have been great value. And Brevin can actually
mix up a bigger body package. I mean, no, I get that.
Kyle Pitts was obvious. The only other player that I thought about going with other than Kyle Pitts was J.C. Horn.
I think JC probably caught my eye the most, just because of the positional value of cornerback. There was just not an edge in this class. I mean, honestly, if I'm going in the top 10 and I'm going off of that positional value, which is something that I definitely value, it was definitely either quarterback, but I was like, okay, I can get Justin Fields outside the top 10. That's my steal right there. That's already a steal. So I was like, whether it was Kellen Mond or whether it was Justin Fields, that was the value for me at quarterback. So I was like, I don't need to look at the other names at quarterback. Then it was like, okay, there's not an edge. There's not an edge that's higher ranked for me than J.C. Horn. There's not an edge that's higher ranked for me than Kyle Pitts. There's not an edge that's ranked. So basically, my top 2 positional values, they're gone right there. And then, honestly, my left tackle was drafted outside of the top 10, so I didn't have to go there either. So to me, it was get the best player on the board.
My left tackle went in the 6th round.
My left tackle should be very familiar.
So we both went Kyle Pitts. I think we did a good job explaining that. I'm going to go left to right on my offensive line. I went Stone Forsythe, 6th round. I'm moving Jalen Mayfield into guard. He went in the 3rd round. I don't know if we're allowed to do that, but this is our podcast.
No, you do what you want. I thought about it, but I did stick with the positions just because it felt that way.
Right. I went Creed Humphrey at center with 2nd round. The first name I wrote down on this list was Wyatt Davis in the 3rd round, and Tevin Jenkins at right tackle. I think I have to do a little bit of explaining myself on Stone Forsythe here. I've done a little bit of more work on Florida because I really want to go back and watch their tight end and their corner that are probably maybe coming out either this year or next year. And Stone Forsythe, I don't really know why he wasn't on my radar going into the draft, but he is actually a very good pass blocking. He's a little raw in run blocking, but of all the guys that I picked, I think he is definitely probably
He reminds me of Sadiq Charles.
Kind of. That's kind of exactly where I think.
Dances very well on the pass block. He's not going to maul you out in the run game, but dude, once he latches his hands on you, you're there.
He's good, and he's 6th round, and I was going between him and the dude that came from Cincinnati.
Hudson.
Not Rodney Hudson. Hudson.
Yeah,
I forgot his first name.
James Hudson.
James Hudson. You're right. Yep, I thought about James Hudson there. Looking at my list right now, I can't believe I didn't put Elijah Vera Tucker on here. I can't believe I didn't find a spot.
That's actually the first name I wrote down on my list, and then I took it off, and he did not make my roster. But it's the first name that I actually put down on my list of players.
I mean, he would have been a great selection. I mean, if I could have found a way to get Jalen Mayfield off of there and then just put him in there, I feel a lot better. But honestly, I like Stone Forsythe. I don't love him, but for the exercise, you have to get late round picks. And when I go through my defense, I think you're going to understand why I had to get
lower round offensive line.
Yeah, I like Creed Humphrey a lot. I think he's very solid. He played all of his games. He's very healthy, left-handed too. That's kind of interesting as a center. Wyatt Davis and Tevin Jenkins, I don't think anyone's going to be able. I think that's where I want Javonte Williams to run behind. I literally want him just to snuggle up right between Wyatt Davis and Tevin Jenkins and run all the way to the end zone. Let's hear your offensive line. I want to hear yours.
All right, so my offensive line, I'll start from the bottom up because honestly,
we'll just go left to right.
Well, the 7th round I picked Will Freeze, the offensive guard from Penn State.
Okay.
Penn State turned out good offensive linemen. They're just a team that underperformed this year.
Are you having him at left or right?
I would put him probably as my left guard, only because
left guard. Okay.
Left guard. Then I went all the way up to the 3rd round, which was my lowest offensive lineman besides him. I got Quentin Myers at center.
I thought about him too.
I got Wyatt Davis at my right guard, and then my right tackle is in the 2nd round, Sam Cosmi, and my left tackle is Rashawn Slater.
Interesting. You went Slater.
I did.
You went Slater over Sewell and Darrisaw. I almost put Darrisaw as my left tackle.
Dude, I went with the full all-around package. I like it because I think Rashawn Slater would mask a left guard better than I think any of the other tackles that I could have put on the left, which is why I was okay with a 7th round offensive guard.
So
playing left guard.
Can you read your offensive line how you would have it from left to right?
Left to right would be Slater, Freeze, Myers, Wyatt Davis, and then Sam Cosmi. My middle to right is just powerful. Then I got my premier player at the left tackle.
Right. No, I like that. I like that a lot. I think yours is better than mine. I like Jalen.
I put the resources in it.
Yeah, you did. I didn't put a first rounder. If I would have put a first, I probably would have taken off Jalen Mayfield and put Vera Tucker in. I thought about.
You got a much more talented running back. Let's be real. Let's be real. A running back that can make plays for himself. Khalil Herbert's not that guy. Yeah. But Khalil Herbert behind that line with Justin Fields.
Yeah.
I felt like that was a win-win. It's somewhere where I looked at the positional value and I definitely said, I'm going to make a running back behind my line more so than having a running back. Because trust me, I had Najee Harris on my list, and I took him off, for an edge player, and I'll explain why when we get there. Once we're there.
So I'm just looking. We had 3 players in common: Wyatt Davis, Kyle Pitts, and Justin Fields.
Yeah. So really, I thought we were going to have more, and honestly, I'm kind of surprised.
I had a feeling we were going to go way different.
I definitely stuck true. You know how I talk about certain things. You know how I am about O-line, and you know how I am about building the team around the player. You know what I'm saying? Justin Fields was definitely a value for me. Kyle Pitts, explains itself.
Yeah.
You know how I am about wide receiver. I really stuck true to my not first round wide receiver.
Yeah. You want to move on to defense?
Yeah, let's go to defense.
Okay. Now, I want to explain my scheme before I explain my players. I am basically going to do exactly what Brandon Staley does with the Chargers. I am going to go 3 down linemen. One of them is going to be an edge, kind of like how I think of Joey Bosa. One of them is going to be more of a defensive end, more of like a
and then a pure nose.
A pure nose, but the nose is going to go out because I basically have my set defense in sub with a slot, with a nickel corner, 3 linebackers and 3 defensive linemen and 3 corners, 2 safeties. So my defensive lineman my 2 edge guys are Gregory Rousseau and Kwity Paye, and my defensive tackle is Tyler Shelvin. He went in the 4th round. The other 2 were first rounders. Shelvin is my favorite defensive tackle in this class.
I almost put him on my list.
He is like the prototypical nose of this class. He may not be the best defensive tackle, but he's probably the best nose.
No, he's going to be your space eater. He's going to eat up blocks.
Quiddy Pay, I think, in my defense, is going to flourish, setting the edge, playing the run, and he still will get sacks. Gregory Rousseau, he can play as an outside linebacker if I want to go 3-4.
I mean, he's versatile enough to play any position on that D line and backer. So
he can play inside and out. And
he made your players okay for me.
I was debating between him and Joe Tryon. That's the two that I was going with. But I went Rousseau because I feel like Rousseau's hand in the dirt is probably a little bit better than Tryon's hand in the dirt.
It is. I definitely agree with that.
So I went there. I want to hear your offense. I want to hear your defensive line.
Okay, so
tell me about your scheme first, though.
Okay, so my scheme, it's really going to explain itself once I name all the players, because realistically, what I have here is I have a linebacker safety hybrid and I have a cornerback safety hybrid.
Me too.
And the reason that I say that is because realistically, I got 4 down linemen. And I can mix and match the corner, linebacker, safety. I didn't get 2 safeties, is basically what I'm saying, because the one safety that I got is versatile enough to play both, and the corner linebacker can play the other.
Okay.
So realistically, it's almost like a sub-base defense. You know what I'm saying? It's just. I wanted the 4 down linemen because honestly, man, it just seems like with the quick passing, you really. The nickel really allows teams to dink and dunk on you and get those quick yards to where realistically, if you're playing more press man, which is something that I'm valuing, and you'll notice that by my corners, I think having the 4 down linemen, attacking, plus, trust me, man, when you hear my linebackers, you're going to be like, oh, well, you can do whatever the hell you want on defense with your front because you can push your linebackers or drop them out. So it's like the linebackers are the key of my defense. I mean, realistically, you always got to have your stud middle. I mean, you know how I talk about that for having a Super Bowl.
Yeah. Well, give me your edges and then give me your defensive line.
Okay, so my edge is Ellerson Smith in the 4th round and Joe Tryon. I wanted the athletic freaks. You know how I am. Give me Ron Rivera and Jack Del Rio to coach these guys up. We're going to coach them up. They might not have the best numbers, but they're going to have the best tools, and we're going to teach them some pass rush moves.
I mean, Ellerson Smith is if he's a toolbox, then he's snapped on.
I mean, he's the closest thing I could think of to Montez Sweat, because you know how Montez Sweat was my guy, and I mean, honestly, I actually like him more than Jason. It's just what it is.
Yeah.
And then Joe Tryon, he's just a toolsy guy. He actually has pass rush moves, and honestly, I think if he had actually played this year, he's not picked 31. I think he's in the top 10. So.
I think he's definitely at least top 15.
Right. I
don't think he gets past the Titans if he.
I think the floor for him is the Titans if he actually played last year, and that's what I truly believe, especially with the way that Washington just had players sit. Those are my edges.
Let's go interior.
Interior, again, this is what I told you. I definitely put the value on this. But J2 Fele from USC and Levi Ozariki.
I really thought about Ozariki on mine. I thought about going him instead of Pay. But I like that a lot. I like Tufele is kind of your eater right there. You're kind of just he's going to line up probably on this.
I got 2 real guys that can realistically eat it, but one is a super twitch athlete, and one is just dominant against the run who gets great push in the passing game.
I like yours a lot. I like yours. The fact that you went 4-3, I think, allows because you went 4-3, and I think that's going to mask maybe the deficiencies at the defensive tackle position in this class.
Right.
If there was an Ed Oliver in this class, it'd be kind of different.
That's what I'm saying. Dude, when it came to edge, I had to value the offensive line, but not just the offensive line. I value defensive line just as much. So for me to actually put a really good feel with the precedent that I put on linebacker play, I had to put resources in the higher end of the draft on my defensive front. I just had to, because the names were not there on the back end of the defense. Not that on projects. I'm not saying there aren't some talented guys, but like I said, my lowest round is 4th round for my defensive front. And that's 2 of them are in the 4th, and then one of them's in the 1st, and one of them's in the 2nd. I mean,
that's 2 first rounders. The defensive line was hard this year, and that's why I went high with them. I just wasn't that crazy about the hand in the dirt guys this year, so I was like, I'm just going to pick guys in the 1st round that I like, and that was Rousseau and Pay.
I mean, if we had done an episode like this for any of the last 3 classes, the safety position is what we would have basically been talking about for the defensive tackle this year. because safety class has been weak, and the defensive tackle and the edges have just been killing it for the last couple of years, except for this draft.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, when you have the Bosa brothers coming out, and you have Chase Young. I mean, you know. It just falls like that. I mean, you can't have great.
Yeah, you've had some really good pass rushers in front. Just in general, the front seven has been flourishing the past couple of years.
Right. So I mean, you're going to have an off year. I mean, you just think it's never going to. It's always going to cycle as far as draft talent. And I mean, that's not to say that any of these guys in the later rounds don't develop.
All right, let's do linebackers. But I want to hear your linebackers first. You go first.
All right, so, you know, I definitely put my money in my linebackers. But so I'm going to start from the bottom up. I went Jabril Cox, obviously. That's my linebacker safety hybrid. And then I got Zayden Collins and Jamin Davis.
Okay, I like yours.
That was pretty simple for me, man. It's all diverse, all fast, attack, they can cover. All three of them, same way. High motors.
Yeah.
You know, Jabril Cox has the injury history, but like I said, I mean, he had that safety hybrid kind of play where I can put it at the strong. I feel okay if he's at the strong. More likely he's staying up in the front, more of like a chip slot and playing zone. Okay. You know, as far as like on my will. But yeah, I mean, those are my guys. I mean, David Collins, you know, I mean, that was somebody I was just high on all year. I mean, had a little bit of.
Zayden Collins was probably the first player that I fell in love with watching college football this year.
Yeah,
like from not last year's tape,
right?
Like from this year's tape, watching Zayden Collins, I was like, who is number 23?
Yeah, Zayden's a monster, and you know how I feel about Jamin. I mean, I thought he was the guy.
So Jamin's your Mike?
Yeah, Jamin's my Mike.
Okay, I like yours a lot. I went Baron Browning, Micah Parsons, and Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah.
I was going to put Baron Browning, but I had to pick a lineman. I had to pick an O-lineman.
Yeah, see,
I picked Miners over Browning. That was like hard, dude. I thought about Browning, Davis, and Zayden. I was like, holy crap! But I needed the center, dude.
And Jabril Cox is a very good cover linebacker,
right?
And that's kind of where I feel my linebackers are a little maybe deficient. But my idea was Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah is going to be a hybrid player.
I mean, you're running a pound a game. I mean, you're talking about a pound a game with Javonte Williams, with your bigger wide receiver. Yeah. You know, like, and it fits your scheme. It fits what you guys are doing.
I know I don't really have a true defensive end pass rusher, maybe like a 4-3 defensive end. I think maybe Russo is probably more of a 3-4 and Pay is more of a 3-4 defensive end in my scheme. But I think Micah Parsons and Baron Browning are good enough to get after the quarterback. That I think my front seven is going to produce enough pass rush that I'm okay with that. And Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah is going to be able to drop back and play and cover maybe. And I think Baron Browning can cover too. I mean, Baron Browning is all over the place.
Oh, Baron Browning's a monster. Like, trust me, I wanted him on my field. I wanted to have coverage linebackers that also attack the run very well because to me, if you have that on the back end along with the secondary that I have, my 4 down guys can attack.
Yeah,
they can attack an offense.
Okay. Did you go 3 corners?
Yeah, like basically, I got my two outsides, and then I got my safety corner hybrid.
Okay, I'll go first on the corners. My 2 outside corners are Robert Rochelle from Central Arkansas, 4th round pick to the Rams, and Greg Newsome, 1st round pick to the Browns. And my slot corner is Shaun Wade. I was really iffy about Shaun Wade if I wanted to put him in because of his tape this year, but in my defense, he's going to play just straight nickel. That's his job, is to play nickel.
Right.
That's where he has his best.
That's where he thrives. Don't make him. I mean,
Robert Rochelle he's very raw. I would have liked to maybe go a different corner here, looking at it now. Maybe I could have gone to Keith Taylor, or maybe used to maybe a better pick and gone maybe Asante maybe. But I like Robert Rochelle. I think he's got a lot of room for improvement, and I think we're playing with
Rochelle has all the tools. And I thought about him, but I just. I had another name. And Newsome,
he might have been my second. I really like J.C. Horn this year, but I really like Greg Newsome. I think that I think on this defense, he's just going to be able to play off, and I think that it's just going to make this defense so cohesive, especially with Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah being able to cover too, and having Parsons rushing the passer maybe, and also having Baron Browning. I think it's just maybe like that center. That middle behind the line and between them, the linemen and the safeties is just I feel like it's pretty solid. What are your corners?
I'm just going to give you 2 because I'm going to put my safety hybrid. Safety hybrid corner with my safety.
I got you.
But I got Keith Taylor Jr. and Asante Samuel Jr. I went with the juniors, man. I wanted guys that can press you. I wanted guys that look good, very good in zone when they show it on tape.
Yeah.
Keith Taylor was just a guy at the Senior Bowl that guys just could not get off of his press, not at all.
I think he had the best tape of all the players other than maybe Kellen Mond at the Senior Bowl.
Yeah, no, he shined to me, and honestly, he had good tape at Washington. I don't think he was a secret.
The Panthers got a steal with him.
The Panthers have been drafting very well.
The fact that the Panthers have
see how they develop the players.
Fact that the Panthers have Dante Jackson, Keith Taylor, and J.C. Horn all on that roster for next year.
Yeah,
it's pretty incredible. Okay. Last but not least, I'll do safeties. I just got two. I got Derek Forrest and Richie Grant. Who do you got?
I got the same two.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Derek Forrest and Richie Grant?
Yep.
And Richie Grant's just corner hybrid?
Yep.
And I kind of went with the same idea that, if anything, Grant could play slot corner also for me. He could play on the outside. Between him and Jeremiah Wusu-Koramoah, I have two basically hybrid players on the defense. I could use them. If they bring out 4 wide receivers, I can have Grant line up at corner and have Jeremiah Wusu-Koramoah play strong safety and have Derek Forrest play deep. That's basically the way I thought about it.
Yeah, I think the cool thing with what it was, I mean, from everything I'm hearing from Washington, I'm always plugged in with the Washington guys, watching the camps and all that. Derek Forrest is balling in camp. He's had 2 interceptions in 3 practices. Derek Forrest was a guy that we both were high on. You were like, man, I want him. Luckily, we picked him.
Yeah.
That's a guy that can play both spots to me. He's versatile enough to play the back end. He's almost like a defensive back. He reminded me very much of Cameron Curl, which is funny because we drafted Cameron Curl the year before, and I really was kind of surprised he was still there with his free safety ability that he had in that class. And then not only that, we lined him up as strong. He looked like a total game wrecker at the strong safety position. And honestly, he was playing nickel corner for us. I mean, honestly, he was taking out tight ends. And it's Derek Forrest has very similar tricks. Very twitchy. To me, he's a twitchy athlete. I've seen all these scouting reports that say he's kind of tight. He's a read and then that second to react kind of guy where once he sees what's in front of him, he reacts and he explodes. But he's a little slower on processing. But dude, every time I watched him in Cincinnati, you know how much we watched Cincinnati last year, dude. It just. I see a much better player than the 5th round safety, but safeties fall, and honestly, man, you want to talk about 5th round safeties? There
were a lot of mid round safeties this year. I had a hard time putting together my safeties. Forrest was a guy I had penciled in there pretty early. Grant was the last, 2nd, 3rd, 4th round player that I selected. I saved that last safety spot till the end. I'm going to really just fill out this defense and then pick the best safety. And I was like, holy cow, Richie Grant, I can grab him.
Yeah, Richie Grant, he was definitely the guy for me. It was, like I said, it filled 2 positions for me because I feel comfortable with him in the slot. I feel comfortable with him at the free. I feel comfortable with him actually not, he's not going to be no enforcer, but he can play strong safety. He has that type of skill set.
Put that on the table.
Yeah, dude, she always gets the toy. But yeah, dude, Richie Grant just is a stud to me. Honestly, he's just a guy that I want on my defense, man. He's a guy that I want on the field. He's just an exciting football player to watch, man. I think he's going to do some really good things in this league. I wanted him on the back end of my defense somewhere. I didn't care. Like I said, you know how I am about safeties anyway, dude. I could have taken 5 cornerbacks here and put 2 up at safety if I really wanted to. It really didn't matter to me because, honestly, dude, my safeties almost got to have that cornerback linebacker mindset.
I just wanted to do a cover and tackle.
Right, realistically, man, I can bring Forrest down and drop Jabril Cox back.
Yep. That was kind of what I thought about Jeremiah Wusu-Koramoah. If I want a safety blitz, I can have him drop too.
Yeah, I definitely with Wusu-Koramoah, man. He's a monster. He's a stud. The fact that he went in round 2, just made it very easy to put his name in this list. I'm really surprised I didn't put him on. Like I said, I focused so heavily on my linebackers and then my front lines that. Like I said, once I got Kyle Pitts and then once I got Justin Fields, the fact that I was able to get Kyle Pitts and then Justin Fields was not a top 10 pick value when he's a top 10 pick.
Most other years.
Yes, on any other year. I felt like I was a game. I was I got my top 10 pick value at quarterback that I honestly got to maximize another position and you know how I am about tight ends. So tight ends are very important to me. I feel like you cannot win the Super Bowl without one that's making some kind of like dominating presence, like in both facets of the game. They have to be able to block a little, like well enough, but like they have to be able to get about 750 yards. And I mean, realistically, man, the teams that are winning Super Bowls, they usually have a tight end that's somewhere around 7 to 10 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And I mean, so dude, Kyle Pitts is like, if I'm thinking about any tight end in this class that I can go to the Super Bowl with, it's Kyle Pitts, because he's the only one besides maybe a couple of the tall ones that I can really see like capable of producing 7 to 10 or more touchdowns every season, year in and year out. I mean, health is always a variant on that, but that's not something you can predict.
Right.
You're only predicting the talent on the field.
Yep.
So yeah, man, like I said, I mean, like you know how I am. I'm very, very crazy about diversity, man. Like Cosme was a halfway freak. Rayshon Slater, man, he moves very well, dances well, gets his hands on you, man. He's just a technician. He can run power, he can run zone. Quentin Miners, man. I mean, just a dude that honestly, like that's the kind of guy I want. Like handing the ball off to my quarterback, man. Like I want a guy that can face up with nose tackles. If you got a Danny Shelton, or you have like a Deron Payne that's going to push the pocket. I want a center that realistically, man, can anchor so well. Like I know it's Wisconsin Whitewater, but when you watch him play, he anchors well. And at the Senior Bowl, dude, there was nobody that was anchoring better than he was. So. Yep. To me, I valued that pick, and dude, like I said, he took Baron Browning off the board. You know how much we both love Baron Browning. So for me to go with him, like I said, I value my quarterback being able to step up in the pocket. I know Justin Fields is mobile, but I can't bootleg every play like that. Like defenses will scheme your ass out of the run and gun.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
So that's kind of like I said. I made sure that I got my trenches, man. The defensive tackle, and the edge.
What was the hardest position for you to put together?
It was definitely those. That's why I had to go with them. Yeah, I just had to go so early. Like I said, I had Najee Harris on my initial list, and then as I thought about like the edges going through the class, I was like Ellerson Smith, and I was like, dude, I need a stud to go across from Ellerson Smith. I was like, realistically, like the round that I was looking at edges was like 5th round or like 6th round when Khalil Herbert, when I saw Khalil Herbert's name, and I was like, you know what, dude? I was like, with this offensive line, I can get somebody that can catch some balls. I can get somebody that can run between the tackles. I got somebody that can one cut and go. I was like, I love Najee Harris, but I was like, I'm going with Khalil Herbert just because the value was there, and I was like, Joe Tryon realistically makes Ellerson Smith productive. Oh yeah, it was maximizing a position that needed.
I got Joe Tryon scratched out right here. I thought that initially was my idea too, get Tryon, but then I realized, I was like, I don't know if I want to go. I was like, the strength of this class to me is more at linebacker and defensive back than off defensive line. So that's why I went 3 linemen, 4 linebackers. Or I'm sorry, 3 linemen, 3 linebackers, and 4.
And the premier corners went in the top 10. Like they all did. So that's why Dallas didn't get one this year, and that's basically why, like I said, I was like, okay, if I already missed out on the top 3 corners,
and the premier wide receivers went high too.
They did too, exactly. So
I really almost put Bateman in my receivers. I
couldn't do it for the value, man. Like I said, I already got Pitts. I was like, Pitts pretty much alleviated that. I was like, I already have a number 1 pass catching weapon. Jeremy Brown's speed, his average yards, his contested catch rate. I was like, okay, Jeremy Brown, perfect. It's not being a homer, dude. He's just got that kind of tape. And honestly, you know how I wrote about UNC all the way around last year, man. Like I could have seen a list where I had Michael Carter. If he did 2 running backs, I would have had Michael Carter.
That was another guy I thought of initially.
He just went too high.
I think Michael Carter probably would have been a better pick with Fields, but I like Javonte Williams a lot, and there was no way I couldn't put him on my team.
Like I said, realistically, Michael Carter was probably going to be my guy if I just didn't see Khalil Herbert's name and know that I could get Joe Tryon instead of Najee Harris. Yeah, like I said, it was just the positional value. It was all positional value for me. It was how I was going to field the most competitive team that I felt like I could compete with, because offensive linemen kind of developed slowly, so I was thinking, okay, I need higher round offensive linemen. I don't want to go past round 4 for a guard.
High floor guys.
Right. Well, right. High floor, but also guys that have really good tools. Sam Cosme's got really good tools, and Quentin Miners has really good tools. Wyatt Davis is safe as hell, and then
Slater's there.
Slater is plug and play left tackle. Realistically, he's going to maybe have some ups and downs depending on the week of what edge he goes against. Yeah, but TJ Watt's going to give everybody hell. And so is Chase Young, and so is Montez, and so is everybody else in the league that is just a beast. Miles Garrett, and just these guys, man. I mean, then you got linebackers that are going to be trying to fool them on stunts, where the edge actually drops in towards the guard, and you stun out like Anthony Barr in Minnesota, and it's like, dude, you got to have a left tackle and realistically keep your quarterback upright. And if I got to go with an all-rookie team, man, I needed to pick a really good stud left tackle. That was.
And I went 6th round.
Hey, I mean, dude, if you like the guy, you like the guy. I mean, like I said, I went. My left guard was my 7th round pick because I felt like between Slater and Miners, I felt like that was the one position. How I am.
And realistically, looking at my list too, it's like if I would probably do this, I'd probably put Tevin Jenkins at left tackle and move Stone Forsythe to the right to play a wide Davis.
Once I heard your list because you had Wyatt Davis over on the left on the right guard spot, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
And I was like, I probably would put Tevin because I don't even care about it's not even about measurables at this point. It's just about the talent. I want If Fields was
that's 5 together.
Yes, if Fields was Tua Tagovailoa left-handed, I probably would keep him at right. But since he's not, just looking at the line that you have, I would definitely put Tevin Jenkins at my left. Because he can play the position. It's not like he can't play the position. I think he just has all-pro right tackle ability. I think that's why on your list he's listed right tackle, because you're just thinking, okay, well, I might not have the best left tackle, but you can still stunt. You still got Pitts to chip on the height, on the snap, and you got him in line.
Yeah. And I also went Javonte Williams because he's probably the best pass blocking running back too in this class.
Yes, and Khalil Herbert has a little bit of it. That was actually the one thing he actually showed good at the Senior Bowl, and I was kind of let down by his tape. It just never got the touches.
Yeah.
But in practice, he looked good at it. I mean, I've seen him do it at Virginia Tech. I mean, he's definitely qualified in the pass blocking department. I mean, I don't like running backs can't pass block, so it's just what it is.
Yeah, it's like if you're gonna be on the field, you gotta everyone's got a pass block. It's like everyone's too good.
I mean, defenses are always gonna blitz. So if they're sending you one more than what you have, your running back has to be able to at least chip him, at least get in front of him, or get pulled over, but hold him up.
Right.
Justin Fields is athletic enough to get out of the pocket in the moments.
He's big enough to stand in there and make a throw too.
But if somebody's coming full steam and a running back just falls to the ground and gets out of his way, Justin Fields is getting lit up. So I mean, you still got to have a running back that can go around. Like I said, I thought we were going to actually have more names, especially once I looked over at your paper and saw Justin Fields, because we did this completely separate.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to do this exercise without us doing it together. That way, it's like we could each put together our list, and that way it's better for the podcast too. It's it's probably better that we went through and didn't know each other's picks. Better for us. I like.
I mean, I like it because we did actually put together 2 different schemes, 2 different types. I mean, I think you went more true to what you like with what you actually want San Diego running out there. I definitely kept more of the run and
Yeah, you definitely went with the 4-3.
I definitely went 4-3. I mean, realistically, man, there's just I'm looking at the class, and I feel like if I went 3-4, I'm just wasting Ozariki, or I'm wasting Tufele, unless I get both of them. And then I would have to get, like you said, for me to run that system, man, I would actually have to get both of them and Russo. And then I'm running different kind of linebackers. So, I would have Jamin Davis at my middle. I would have probably Zaven Collins as another interior, because I would still value his skill set from the inside, but I can also use him outside. But I mean, that's where the edges get tricky for the 3-4s, because your 3-4 outside linebackers are realistically your pass rushers. And this class, to me, man, it just, I mean, Tryon can do it definitely because he's kind of an undersized 3-4 end or 4-3 end.
Yep.
Quiddy Pay's got the burst. He's just not my type of guy, so that's another reason.
Yeah, I went Quiddy Pay just basically specific for my scheme.
Yeah,
if I was doing the 4-3, I wouldn't pick Quiddy Pay.
Yeah, and I
wouldn't ask Quiddy Pay to rush the passer in the 4-3. And I don't know if he's big enough and strong enough at the point of attack to win at the interior on a 4-3. So that's why I went with him. That's why I said that he's going to play the Cam Jordan role on this defense.
I got it. I get it. I definitely see what you did. I definitely like it. Like you said,
Russo is more like the Bosa.
Russo is to me, the only way you're running 3 down front with this class, I don't think there's another name that you could actually throw in there. There's maybe Boogie from Wake Forest, Cody Basham, but honestly, I think Russo is realistically like that. He's the guy in this class that you'd have to run a 3 down front.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just nobody else in the class that you're far off after Russo for what he's going to bring to that 3-4 or our 3 down front is, and he can play the 3-4 end. I mean, honestly, you can stand him up and play in the 3-4 end. I mean, you're just not getting a player like Russo.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, he can play outside linebacker in a 4.
It was pretty much like me with Joe Tryon to Ellerson Smith. Like, me taking Ellerson Smith was like pretty much dependent on Joe Tryon.
Yeah.
Like, there is a bunch of different ways that I could have gone 4-3 edge. You know, they aren't necessarily names that I like. I thought they went higher than they should. More like, you know, the Georgia. Texas Asais and Ojolari. You know, there's a lot of different ways I could go, but their value, they would just pick too high.
Away.
Yeah, away. Honestly, I was trying to find a way to get Shaka Tony in here, man, because he was a 7th round pick, and that was going to be my 7th. But
I almost picked Quincy Roche in the 6th round.
Right, because you know, who was the Penn State edge that was getting? He got drafted high.
Away,
yeah.
He changed his name, but Jason Away.
Dude, he just, every time they showed a highlight of him, anything that he did was pretty much because Shaka Tony was like drawing the guy over to him. And you can talk about a motor for days, man, but you can have a high motor in college football and get decent numbers, and he didn't even have them there. So like, how do I expect that guy to translate to the NFL? Because if you're a step too slow in college, you're going to be probably 2 or 3 steps too low when you go against Trent Williams.
Yeah.
You know, it just is what it is. The NFL, it's just a different ballgame.
Absolutely.
But I like it, man. I like what you got there. I think Justin Fields, I think that's self-explanatory, again, with the value. Pitts, same thing. It just, you got
to go Terrace Marshall. Terrace Marshall.
Well, I thought about Terrace Marshall. I value speed, man. Like, if I'm going to have Justin Fields and Khalil Herbert, man.
4-3.
No, I know, but dude, like, I got Naomi.
Everyone ran a 4-3 this year.
I mean, I was about to say, wide receivers, they're all pretty fast. But dude, like, I just like the versatility that Naomi brought for the outside, which was like, I was like, okay, I do need a bigger guy. Daz Newsome, man. I mean, dude, you want to talk about another guy that can just test catches and like, he has a little bit of that Anquan boldness like Terrace Marshall. I mean,
I think
the value was there.
Daz Newsome running across the field on routes.
Yes.
That's what I think about him. That's
right, or like, you know, the in and out, like the outside curls and just, you know, like just post corners and stuff like that. Man. I mean, he's just going to, like, if you throw the ball up in the air, man, and he gets his hands on it, you know it's his. Like,
yeah.
And I mean, Terrace Marshall definitely, but I mean, 5th round Daz Newsome or 2nd round Terrace Marshall. I mean, Terrace Marshall was worth the 1st round pick. It just, like I said, I mean, for my value for position, you know, wide receiver, I just, you know how I am. It's always about the core. It's not about the one guy. I mean, you know, I actually valued Elijah Molden's speed along with, you know, Deuce Brown's speed. I valued that, like, just, you know, I think, you know, Terrace has a little injury thing, which was kind of why I was trying to keep Jabril Cox off, which was why I was, like, more so leaning towards Browning. But I just, because I didn't pick a second safety, and I went with the slot corner because I wanted my 4 down lineman, so I kind of picked 2 hybrids. Cox was just the guy. I mean, he was realistically the guy because he is. He's the one. You know, it ain't like last year where you can play like say Jeremy Chin, you know, or you could say Cameron Curl or Isaiah Simmons and like just Khalid Hudson. I mean, like realistically, man, like that. I mean, that class was just full of hybrids. I mean, all throughout the roster. I mean, throughout the draft, not the roster, but the draft roster, if you want.
Right, the draft board.
Yeah, dude. It just. This just wasn't that class. I mean, this class actually was loaded at safety, and it's kind of funny that I only took 1, and it's funny that we got it.
Well, you got 2. We drafted the same safeties.
Yeah, I mean,
I think Richie Grant's going to play safety, but I think he can play corner.
I think your value for him year 1 is slot corner. Put him back at safety, especially for the team he got drafted for. That's kind of part of it for me. Is I feel like if they're trying to field their best 11 on defense in certain packages, he's probably going to play corner for them.
That's true.
And honestly, here, honestly, I got Keith Taylor outside. I don't really want Keith Taylor coming inside. I want Asante Samuel again on the outside. I'm pretty much keeping my corners. Take your side. I mean, that's what it is. I don't care which wide receiver comes over to you. I know Asante Samuel's a little bit smaller, but he plays big. I know Keith Taylor's bigger, plays a little bit smaller as far as his hips. So I feel comfortable about him. It's just the way I like it. I don't like to get crazy with my corners unless they are versatile enough to go from side to side, or Keith Taylor's tall. I can say, hey, you take Julio, Asante, you're going to line up against Calvin Ridley. It doesn't really matter what side you line up. Realistically, you just follow that guy.
Shadow.
Yeah, and you're going to play man against them guys. I mean, you're going to try to press them at the line. You're going to try to get your pressure home on whatever quarterback they got. It just is what it is. Mm-hmm. But I like this episode, man.
This is fun.
I think we can do some. I think we need to keep doing things like this.
I know. I agree. We'll keep you guys posted.
Thanks
for listening. This is the iTest Podcast. Peace out. Enjoy your weekend.
Peace.